She tells herself she's over you. She posts like she's moved on. She even smiles like she never lost sleep. But behind that surface, her mind is far from free. 'Cause here's what no one tells you when a woman truly felt something real. She doesn't just forget, not even when she wants to. And if you've been silent, truly silent, not fake detachment, but grounded in purpose, growth and emotional control, then you've already won a battle most men never even knew existed today. We're breaking down exactly why she can't erase you from her mind, even when she tries. Let's dive in. Number 1, the illusion of moving. The illusion of moving on. She might act like everything's fine, laughing louder, posting more, chasing new experiences, but those are just surface-level distractions. Deep down, she's not healed, because forgetting isn't the same as healing, and moving on isn't the same as letting go. What she's doing is trying to outrun a shadow yours, but the more she tries to drown it out with noise, the more it echoes in the silence of her own mind. Maybe she's out every weekend. Maybe there's a new guy in her stories. Maybe she's trying to prove something to you, to her friends, maybe even to herself. But late at night, when the world is quiet and no one's watching, that's when the truth surfaces. That's when the old memories come back. Not the bad ones, but the ones that felt like peace. The way you listened without interrupting, the way your presence made her feel safe. Not judged, the way you stayed calm, even when she brought chaos. See, this is where Stoicism gives you an edge. Not just over the situation, but over yourself, because you're not chasing validation. You're not out to prove anything. You're grounded in your own frame. You're not trying to erase her. You're not bitter. You just accepted what is. And that quiet acceptance, that's what haunts her. She expected you to hold on to, or reach out, to give her proof that she still mattered. But instead you've become the man who lets go. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started choosing peace over pursuit. So now every laugh she forces, every selfie she posts, every good vibe, only caption, it's a mask that slips when the memory of you catches her off guard, when your calm confidence replays in her head. Because it wasn't the dates or the gifts. It was the depth and that kind of presence. It lingers. Her mind won't let her forget you. Because you weren't just another chapter. You were the lesson, number 2, emotional echoes in the silence. The silence. When the night gets quiet. When the dopamine fades, your memory returns uninvited but undeniable. She replays the last words, the last look, the last time she felt truly safe, because silence isn't emptiness, it's clarity. It strips away the noise, the distractions, the justifications. It's in that silence that the truth starts to echo. Not just your absence, but your presence. The realness of it, the steadiness, the way you didn't flinch when she was overwhelmed, the way you didn't try to control her, only to understand her. And now in the quiet, that emotional echo gets louder. She may not show it, but it plays in the background like a song she can't turn off. Your memory isn't just stuck in her mind. It lives in her nervous system, that calm energy. You brought the safe space. You created the way you didn't react. When others would have those moments left a deeper impression than even she expected. You see from a stoic lens, your silence isn't passive. It's powerful. You're not ignoring her. You're simply refusing to beg for the role you once filled with grace. Epictetus said, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." And that's exactly what's happening to her now. She judged your distance as weakness, until it became the mirror for her own chaos, while you kept moving forward, not out of revenge, but out of discipline. She stayed in the loop, trying to feel something that resembled what she had with you. But no matter how many messages she ignores or breadcrumbs, she drops your silence, still speaks, and it says, "I am no longer where you left me." That realization, it hits the hardest, because silence, when held with strength, doesn't just create distance, it creates reflection. And now she's the one sitting with the echo. Before we move on, take a second to sit with that idea that your silence isn't a gap. It's a mirror she can't escape. And in that reflection, she doesn't just see what's missing. She sees what she lost. Not noise, not attention, but grounded presence. Real security. The kind of energy that didn't need to chase to be felt. That's what lingers, that's what echoes. If this resonated with you even just a little, let me know in the comments what part of this message hit the deepest. Or if you just want to keep it simple, type "silence reveals everything." And if you're getting value from this, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps this message reach someone else who needs to hear it too. Let's keep going. Your absence created space for reflection. Number 3, your absence created space for reflection. Your absence didn't just remove you, it created space. And now that space echoes, it reminds her of who you were, and more importantly, who she was when she had. You see, absence isn't just the lack of presence. It's a mirror, a force that reveals more than your words ever could. In the beginning, she may have felt relief, even freedom. She told herself she needed space, that she was doing what was best for her. But as the days pass, that space has turned into something else. A haunting kind of a stillness, one that doesn't just remind her of you, but of how she felt when she was with you. You weren't just a boyfriend. You were her anchor. You didn't control her emotions, you grounded them. You didn't solve all her problems, you created a space where she could breathe, unravel and still feel seen. And now with you, gone, that emotional sanctuary is closed. The door is shut, not in anger, but in quiet acceptance and what's left reflection. Not the kind that happens in conversations or closure talks, but the kind that creeps in late at night, when no one's around. That's when she remembers the subtle things, your tone. When things got tense, your patience when she spiraled, your silence that didn't punish but protected your peace. And that's when she realizes she's not just missing you. She's missing the version of herself that felt safe, calm and emotionally held in your presence. A man who values his peace. Doesn't chase validation. He doesn't need to be loud. His presence was enough. And when he leaves, that absence becomes a teacher. It teaches without speaking. It forces others to sit with what they took for granted, and that's exactly what's happening now from a Stoic lens. This is the highest form of discipline, not reacting, not reaching out, not needing to remind someone of your worth. Instead, you let time and space do what words never could, as Seneca once wrote. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it, and you're no longer wasting any of yours proving your value to someone who didn't see it when it mattered. That's what sets you apart. You don't weaponize silence, you embody it. You let your absence become the proof of your presence. And slowly she begins to see the difference between someone who filled her time and someone who once filled her soul. Number 4, the unforgettable calm. The unforgettable calm you carried. You didn't beg. You didn't plead. You didn't spiral. You stayed composed, calm, steady, and in a world that often rewards chaos and overreaction, that kind of emotional strength that's rare, and rare is unforgettable. She may have been used to drama, ups and downs, emotional outbursts, guilt trips, or grand gestures, but you didn't give her that. You gave her stillness, a kind of quiet that doesn't shout to be heard, but lingers long after the noise is gone. Even when things ended, you didn't chase you, didn't crumble. You didn't let your ego run wild, trying to prove a point. You just accept it. And that's what unsettles her now. Not your anger, not your silence alone, but the calmness within it. Because that calm speaks to something deeper, something she didn't understand at the time, but now can't stop thinking about. It wasn't passive, it wasn't cold, it was the strength of a man who knows who he is, a man who refuses to lose himself, just to be understood by someone who's not ready. That kind of composure. It's powerful, and it's haunting, because it can't be manipulated, it can't be pulled back with breadcrumbs or tested with silence. She thought you'd break that. You'd fold under pressure, or come running back, like others might have. But you didn't. You held the line. That's what sets you apart. That's why you're unforgettable. Because while she might try to replace the relationship, she can't replace the experience, the calm, the presence, the emotional control that left a deeper imprint than she ever expected. Stoicism teaches that we are disturbed not by things, but by the views we take of them. And you mastered that you didn't let the breakup define you. You didn't assign your worth based on her attention or lack of it. You responded with stillness, with self-respect, with clarity. And now that stillness has become the loudest thing in her life. Because once a woman has experienced a man who remains composed in the face of emotional storms, who holds his frame instead of chasing hers, that image doesn't fade. It stays in her mind, in her memory, and in her comparison to every man who follows true power isn't in reaction, it's in restraint. And your restraint, that's what left the deepest mark. Let that sink in for a moment. Because the truth is, anyone can react. Anyone can chase, beg, or spiral when emotions run high. But to stay composed, to hold your frame, when everything inside you wants to break, that's rare. And that kind of inner strength leaves a lasting impression, not just on her, but on you. It becomes part of your identity. So ask yourself, are you proud of how you handled the storm? Would you go back and trade that composure for a moment of temporary validation? If this reflection hits home, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, or just type, "Restraint is my power." Let's keep this message alive for every man. Learning to lead with strength, not desperation. Now let's move forward. Number 5, the way you made her. The way you made her feel safe. Feel safe. She might forget the words, but she remembers how you made her feel. You were a safe place in a chaotic world, when everything else felt loud, confusing, uncertain. You were the steady hand, the calm voice, the one who didn't flinch when she broke down, who didn't try to fix her, but made her feel seen without judgment. And now that stability is gone, and its absence is deafening. At first, she might not have realized it. She may have thought she needed space, excitement, and something new, but slowly the world starts to remind her how rare you were. How rare it is to feel emotionally safe around someone without having to perform or pretend, and suddenly the little things start hitting her. How you listened without trying to win an argument. How your presence softened her storms. How your patience made her feel understood when she couldn't even understand herself. The Stoic man doesn't try to be her thrill. He becomes her peace. And ironically, that peace often gets overlooked until it's missing, until the new people she surrounds herself with talk over her, minimize her emotions, or make her feel like she has to earn affection. That's when she realizes true safety can't be faked, and it definitely can't be found just anywhere. You didn't need to dominate the room to make her feel secure. You did it with presence, with your ability to hold tension without turning cold, with your quiet strength. That said, even if everything falls apart, I won't. That's not just attractive, it's unforgettable. And now the contrast is clear. She's surrounded by attention, maybe even affection, but she can't find that same grounding, that same emotional refuge, because it wasn't about what you gave her. It was about what you didn't take from her. You didn't drain her energy. You didn't amplify the chaos. You gave her space to be vulnerable. And now that space is locked behind a door she can't reopen. Peace is underrated until it's gone. And once she's felt what it's like to be around a man who lives by principles, not pressure, every chaotic connection afterward will just remind her of what she lost. You weren't just a chapter. You were the calm between storms, and once a woman knows what that feels like, her mind doesn't let her forget it. You didn't play the game. You walked away, number 6. You didn't play the game. You walked away while others played push-pull, posted for attention, or chased breadcrumbs. You simply bowed out, gracefully, quietly, completely. No dramatics, no cryptic posts, no desperate attempts to be noticed. You didn't engage in the games. So many fall into the endless cycles of texting, ignoring, reappearing, pretending not to care. You knew exactly who you were, and you knew that if someone couldn't value your presence, they didn't deserve the privilege of it. The strongest move is often no move at all, because silence, rooted in self-respect, is the loudest message you'll ever send. It's not silence that begs for attention. It's the kind that demands reflection. She expected resistance. She anticipated you playing along, matching her hot and cold energy. But instead you did something far more powerful. You disengaged with calm, with dignity, with purpose. That kind of silence confuses those who rely on control, because you didn't give her the reaction she was used to. You didn't validate the cycle. You ended it not by slamming the door, but by simply refusing to stand in the doorway any longer from a stoic lens. This is the essence of true control. Not the kind that manipulates, but the kind that chooses peace over pettiness. As Marcus Aurelius said, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. You didn't retaliate. You didn't chase closure. You didn't lower yourself. Just to be heard, you rose above. And that left a deeper impression than any argument ever could now. While others still play the same emotional chess match, she's left wondering, why didn't he fight for me? What she doesn't realize yet is that you did fight for your peace, your growth, your dignity, and you won. You walked away. Not because you didn't care, but because you cared too much to betray yourself. And that kind of exit, that's unforgettable, because it's not just silence. It's a statement, one that echoes every time she checks her phone and finds nothing but stillness. Let that last line settle for a moment. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can leave behind is nothing at all. No message, no reaction, just the undeniable weight of your absence. That's what creates the real impact. Not noise, but discipline. Not attention-seeking, but self-respect. So here's something to think about. Are you walking away to prove something to her, or to prove something to yourself? If this message hit something in you, share your thoughts in the comments or just type, "My silence is my standard." Let's keep this conversation real, grounded, and growing. Now let's move to what happens next. Number 7, her triggers are tied. Her triggers are tied to you. To you now, it's not just memories, it's everything: a song, a street, a scent, and boom, you're back in her head. Not because you forced your way in, not because you're trying to linger, but because her emotional memory is tied to your energy. You see, when a man shows up with intention, calmness, and consistency, when he brings peace in a world full of noise, he doesn't just pass through a woman's life. He imprints on it. You didn't leave behind drama, confusion, or chaos. You left behind something far more haunting, stability, and now anything that even slightly resembles that presence, even if it's just a song that played in the background while you two laughed together, becomes a trigger, a spark that reignites the emotional contrast she may be with someone else. Now she may look like she's moved on, but when he doesn't respond like you did when he snaps, instead of stays calm when he rushes to react, instead of listening like you once did, that's when she feels it. That's when the comparison kicks in, and comparisons once activated are hard to silence. You didn't leave a scar, you left a standard, and that's far more difficult to move on from. A scar might fade with time, but a standard that lives in her expectations. It reshapes how she views men moving forward. It filters every new interaction, even when she doesn't want it to. That's what happens when you operate with emotional discipline, when your love wasn't chaotic but conscious, when you made her feel something she didn't even know she craved, emotional safety. And once she felt that, it became her baseline for what real should feel like. From a Stoic viewpoint, this is the quiet power of a man who governs himself. You didn't manipulate emotions, you modeled maturity. You didn't try to own her, you inspired her. And now that energy, it follows her into every new connection, every quiet moment, every unexpected memory. She doesn't miss the attention, she misses the atmosphere, the way your energy made her feel more regulated, more grounded, more herself. Because when someone feels seen, understood, and safe in your presence, forgetting you isn't just hard, it's impossible. Number 8, her ego fights what her heart. Her ego fights what her heart remembers. She tells her friends she doesn't care, shrugs it off like it meant nothing, rewrites the story in her head just to protect her pride. She convinces herself you weren't the one, that it was just a phase, that she's better off now. But deep down, her heart knows better. Because the heart doesn't follow pride, it follows impact, and your impact, it's still there. Not because you begged to be remembered, not because you left a trail of drama or desperation, but because of the way you showed up, the way you led with presence instead of pressure, the way your energy spoke louder than your words. That kind of emotional imprint doesn't just disappear when she decides it's more convenient to forget. So now she's torn. Her ego is working overtime to win the narrative, to tell herself that you didn't matter as much, that it wasn't real, that she's moved on. But every time she's alone, every time the masks fall and the distractions fade, her heart interrupts the story with memories, with flashes of peace, with the lingering sense that something rare slipped away. And here's where your power lies. You don't argue with ego. You let time humble it. You don't fight to be understood. You don't chase explanations or closure. You remain grounded just like you were in the relationship. Stoic, still focused on what you can control, your own evolution. As Epictetus said, if someone speaks badly of you, and it is true, correct yourself. If it is false, laugh. You don't need to defend your name in her group chats or try to correct her version of the story. Truth needs no defense. It just needs patience, and over time, the noise fades, and the truth remains. Eventually she'll realize it wasn't just about what you did. It was about who you were, and more importantly, who you didn't become when things fell apart. You didn't turn bitter. You didn't seek revenge. You elevated, and that contrast. The man who walked away with peace while she clung to pride. That's what stays with her, because when her ego finally gets tired of pretending, her heart will still be holding on to the one thing she couldn't replace. You number 9. Her attempts to replace you keep failing. Her attempts to replace you keep failing. She thought someone new could fill the gap, that fresh attention, new conversations or surface-level chemistry would distract her from what she lost. And maybe at first it felt like it worked. The excitement, the novelty, the illusion of moving on, but eventually the high wore off, because what she found was temporary pleasure, not lasting presence. What you gave her wasn't just attention. It wasn't performative. It wasn't built on games or emotional highs and lows. It was peace. The kind of peace that calms the nervous system, not excites the ego. The kind of presence that doesn't demand attention because it holds space, naturally. And now, no matter how many dates she goes on, no matter how many times she tells herself he's different, she keeps running into the same wall. He's not you. Because what you brought wasn't about trying hard. It was about being whole. While other men try to impress with flash or force, you led with calm, with depth. You listened when she was chaotic. You stayed. When she was unsure, you didn't try to fix her emotions. You created a container strong enough to hold them. That's not common. That's not easily replaced. And now every time someone new shows up in her life, she doesn't just compare, she feels the contrast. Your absence became a standard, a measuring stick. And the more she tries to recreate what she had with you, the more painfully clear it becomes. It can't be duplicated because it wasn't about what you did. It was about how you made her feel. The Stoic man doesn't compete. He creates contrast. You never tried to prove you were better. You simply were not louder, not flashier, just real, present, rooted. You don't chase replacements or worry about who she's with now because you know what you offered was rare. And rare doesn't need to fight for space. It stays in the memory long after the novelty fades. So while she may keep searching, keep swiping, keep convincing herself, there's someone else out there who can replicate the peace you gave her. A quiet truth lingers in the back of her mind. She had it, and she let it go. Now take a moment and really think about that. Think about the difference between being missed for what you did and being missed for who you were. That kind of impact doesn't fade. It lingers not in her inbox, but in her nervous system, not in her conscious thoughts, but in those quiet moments when the crowd leaves and the noise dies down. That's when she feels it most. Your calm, your strength, your unshakable presence. And if you've ever wondered whether your silence meant anything, trust me, it does. So reflect for a second. What kind of presence are you leaving behind? If this message hits home, drop a comment below and let us know, or just write. I create contrast, not competition. Let's keep this conversation going. Number 10. She remembers, but you've moved. She remembers, but you've moved on. And here's the part that stings the most. Yes, she remembers the laughs, the late-night talks, the way you made her feel without trying. You're not forgotten. You're unforgettable. But now, you're no longer available. Not emotionally, not mentally, not energetically. Because you didn't just walk away. You evolved. You outgrew the version of yourself. She once had access to the man who may have tolerated uncertainty, confusion, or inconsistency. No longer exists in his place. Stands a man who chose clarity over chaos. A man who knows that peace isn't just something you protect. It's something you become. That's the part she didn't see coming. That by the time she realized what you truly meant, you had already shifted. You didn't wait around, hoping she'd come back with new intentions. You grew with new standards. Quietly, intentionally, you healed. But more than that, you leveled up not for her, for you now. When she reaches out, if she ever does, it won't hit the same, because your energy has changed. The emotional door she once walked through is closed, not with bitterness, but with clarity. You don't need her to see your value anymore, because you see it, and that's what makes all the difference. From a Stoic perspective, this is what true growth looks like. As Seneca once said, no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself, and through the silence, through the distance, you didn't just survive. You proved yourself to you. So yes, she remembers, but now she's remembering someone who no longer belongs to her world. And that realization, that's what cuts deeper than any silence or goodbye ever could, because you didn't just leave the relationship, you left behind the man who once needed it. As we conclude today's journey into the depths of emotional memory and the silent echoes that resonate long after the noise has faded, it's clear that the real battle isn't about holding on to the past. It's about mastering ourselves in the present, today. We've explored how your grounded silence, your deliberate absence, and your unwavering calmness have a profound impact that words often fail to capture. Through your disciplined stoicism, you've taught not just yourself, but also her, that real strength comes not from clinging, but from letting go with grace. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. It is this strength that has made your presence unforgettable, your absence impactful, and your peace a lesson that continues to teach, even in your silence. Your journey is a testament to the idea that sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is nothing at all. It's not about absence, it's about presence. Even in absence, it's about the emotional and mental fortitude that turns silence into a mirror, reflecting not just what is lost, but what is gained through self-respect and inner peace. If today's message resonated with you, I encourage you to share your thoughts. What part of this discussion struck a chord with you? Did you find strength in silence, or did the idea of presence in absence echo within you? Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. And if you're just feeling the weight of these words, simply type, "My silence speaks louder." Now please don't forget to hit the like button if you found value in our talk today. It helps spread these important lessons to others who might be navigating their own silent battles. Subscribe for more insights, and make sure to watch the recommended videos popping up on your screen right now to continue growing and learning with us. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember, in the stillness of absence, the echoes of your growth reverberate. The loudest keep moving forward, not with noise, but with purpose.